I just got this Kohler K181. It's from a Gravely Commercial 8 walk-behind motor. Just got it back from the machine shop. The engine was bead blasted. Everything's out of the block. It's been honed out. New valves. It's got a little work that needs to be done still. Let's see. Yeah, honed out, new valves, the top was decked out. Also, the exhaust valve area was completely rusted out, so they machined that with a Bridgeport machine nice and flat. And now I need to take the governor out. Got a nice new plastic governor here to put in. So that's my next step here. And I just need to take apart these couple bolts over here, and that should drop the governor out, and then she'll be totally disassembled. Okay, I got the governor gears out. This is the new gear, and you see the center of the gear is the whole gear is made out of nylon, and this is the new gear. It's got the weights on the back, everything. If we look at the old gear, it doesn't look too bad from the surface. The weights still move. See, they open up here. But the center, where it rides on the shaft here, I measured it with my digital caliper over here, and this gear is worn out. And it's probably in the ballpark of 15 thousandths larger in diameter than the new gear. So, for 20 bucks, we're going to throw in this brand new gear and prevent that from being a problem in the future. Okay, so the governor gear is in. Now I need to put in the new, not the new, but I need to put the tappets back in. So I'm going to start with the intake tappet, which is just a matter of taking this and put it in this hole. Okay, now the exhaust tappet. Let's see. Okay, so those are both in. And now the camshaft needs to go in, which is a little tricky, so I'm going to turn the phone off and put that in. Okay, I got the camshaft in, and on this motor there's no balance gears, so it makes it pretty simple to put it back together. I've got new bearings over here in the bearing plate and also in the PTO side of the motor. You can see that. So what I'm going to do is take a bunch of oil and load those up with a hefty amount of oil. I've got this crank here which I bought. It's actually ground down 10 under. I got it from Richard's Lawn and Garden, and I'm going to put that thing in now. So the key is to make sure that you've got your timing marks lined up properly. And right over here there's a little dot. You can see that next to my finger. That's the timing mark on the camshaft. And somewhere on this crank there's a similar dot. It may be a little harder to find, but anyways, those things have to line up when you put it together, otherwise it will not be timed properly, and we'll be having to take this whole thing apart again, which is not in my best interest. So I want to lube it up. Basically what you do is you take the crank, put it through here, you get your timing marks lined up, you push it right out through the bearings there, and then on the other end here you simply refasten that bearing plate on, and that's it. After that, it's just a matter of putting the rod in and we're all done. Okay, let me show you a little trick that I learned. This is the old crankshaft, and you can clearly see the timing mark right there. It's molded right into the crank itself. And on the new shaft, I guess when they machined it or something, that mark is kind of missing. But you can see this little dimple right there. One thing that I found that makes things easier is if you take a Sharpie, you can actually color the tooth on the crank with the Sharpie that lines up with that timing mark. And you can actually go back over to your camshaft and you can hit that with the Sharpie also, and it makes it a lot easier to mesh those things together when you assemble it. Okay, so I gave the end of the crankshaft a few taps with that mallet there, and now I can come in here. I hope you can see it on the video, but see the black mark there? It's going to mesh perfectly with the dot on the other surface. So I know that I have my timing exactly where it needs to be. Can you see the cam now? See the Sharpie mark? When they come together, they're going to line up perfectly right there. So what I did is I poured a lot of oil on the main bearing there and on the crankshaft mating surface as well. And now at this point I'm going to hammer this thing home and put the bearing plate on. One thing I forgot to mention is that when you put the engine together, you got to make sure you have all new gaskets set. It's very inexpensive. I bought this whole kit with the piston and everything off of a guy for like $100 on eBay. It's all brand new stuff. So these gaskets here create your end play on your crankshaft. They give you 3 or 4 of them in this gasket set. When I took the old motor apart, there were 2 in there, so I'm going to start by putting 2 new ones in, and hopefully I'll be in the right position on the end play. Okay, the bearing plate has been reinstalled with the crank. What I did is I put all new 3/4 inch long quarter 20 bolts on there. I put a new piece of wire in there for the ignition. The old wire was probably 40 years old and dry rotted and cracked and pretty nasty looking. Probably had a couple mouse nests in it over the years. So at this point I need to put the oil seals in, and after that I'm going to put the valves in and the piston and rod, and then I can pretty much have this sucker back together. And that's about it.